There is definitely a trend in fishing right now to go with straight-tailed baits. And I think a lot of people look at a straight-tailed bait and they go, why is this better than something that's got a lot of flappers, a lot of legs and appendages? And really what it comes down to is what's more natural. If you look at a fish swimming through the water column, they just have tiny little tail kicks to propel them through the water. Now, most fish out there do not have big crazy flappers going all over the place that are creating a lot of disturbance. So if you're really trying to mimic today's bait fish, what you're looking for is something that has a lot less kick. Now, if you're fishing someplace that has relatively clear water, so 2 foot of water visibility or more, you really might want to look at going with something that's got a straight tail. We're really finding that this works really well on a lot of moving baits as trailers, so maybe it's a vibrating jig, maybe it's a swim jig, or maybe you're fishing it on something like this core tackle hover rig, where you're just allowing the bait to glide through the water column and give it an extremely natural appearance that the fish are having a very hard time turning down. You know, it really goes back to the fact that if you're trying to create a natural presentation, the fish aren't used to something that creates a ton of vibration. They're used to something slicing through the water, and you can't do a much better job than mimic that with a straight tail bait. So when this moves, there's just a little bit of vibration in the tail. Now there's a lot of good baits out there. This is the Kitech Shad Impact. This is the 4-inch model. One of my favorites to fish on a hover rig. This is a weedless core tackle hover rig, so this bait's got the ability to be fished in and around brush piles, maybe skipping under docks without getting snagged up. One of the things I love about it. But I gotta tell you, if you're not fishing straight-tailed baits this time of year, you're probably missing out, because the fish are really starting to key in on shad. They're really starting to key in on those forage species that are mimicking the young of the year bait fish, and that's where your little straight-tailed baits will come into play. But it does not just have to be simply as a trailer or as a bait on a jig head. You really can fish them in almost any manner. If you want to fish it by itself weightless and get it to, kind of be fished through the water column like a fluke would, or if you want to use them as a trailer and drag them on the bottom down in 25 feet of water, they're effective in almost all levels of the water column and on many different techniques as well. So give it a try. This is the Kitech Shad Impact, the 4-inch size on a 3/64 ounce core tackle weedless hover rig. This is a great combination if you happen to fish anywhere around the country where there's smallmouth spotted bass or largemouth. You got a really good shot at catching them on this bait.
Thank you guys for coming back to another episode. I'm excited to talk about my favorite go-to straight tail lure, and it actually works right now as you're watching this in the fall. But it's a lure that works year-round, no matter where you're at in the country, fishing from the bank, from a boat. And since it is the fall time of the year, I'm going to talk about my experience fishing this from the bank. Okay, there was one fall where the fluke, guys, like this one right here, this is the Strike King Caffeine Shad, where this guy and me had a bunch of fish catches and a bunch of fun trips fishing from the bank in the fall. Okay, now I got a couple different flukes here. Okay, I got the big bite baits, the jerk bait. I have the Zoom fluke. That's the bubblegum color. I like the pink color, some of you guys know. And then I got the 6 cents one right here. Theirs is called the Flush. 5.2 inches is what it says. So like this is 5.2. Fluke's probably 5, and then this guy says it's 5 as well. But if I had to pick one, okay guys, I'm going with the KVD Strike King Caffeine Shad. Okay, this guy, I've caught so many fish with this soft plastic jerkbait. Okay, but they're all good. All right, they're all good, but they're all kind of different in a way. This one's a little heavier, so I can cast it further. Which, from fishing from the bank, as I did a lot of in my early years, it was very important to me to get a long cast in some situations. So if you're one of my bank guys watching this, just kind of keep that in mind. Like this one here, okay, I love the Zoom Fluke, right? Zoom Fluke, I mean, it's great. Zoom makes good products, but it's lighter than this guy, okay? And so now, how we're gonna fish this, okay? I know Matt just talked about the hover rig on a straight tail style lure. I'm not going to talk about the hover rig, okay? Because once again, I'm talking about a time a couple years ago where I was catching these fish on the bank, and that was before the hover rig. So now if you have a boat like I do now, you can still use this strategy pattern because it fits with the fall. But guys, I'm going to use a 5/0 offset worm hook. Some guys use EWG. I like that offset worm hooks. It's a little smaller, and I just think the fish can get the whole thing in their mouth better. But you know, I know some people use EWG, so it's wherever your preference. But I use the 5/0 size. My opinion on the 5/0 size was a little longer. Bigger hook, I can get a further cast once again. Now what's weird is when I'm Carolina rigging, I do the 3/0 hooks, but I'm not talking about Carolina rig. I'm talking about just straight Texas rig, weightless, throwing a fluke. So guys, what I did, and there was a couple falls that I did. This was actually when I was in college at Henderson State, which Lake DeGray is right next to, okay? I wouldn't have much time to fish because of my schedule. It could be 2 or 3 hours of a day, or maybe even 1 hour. I'd drive to the lake. I would find the back of the creeks, okay? And one thing about that lake, there's a lot of places you can just drive your car and fish the back of creeks, right? Now, there are times, guys, where I had mud boots on, so I could kind of wade in there, and sometimes the lake was low, as it typically could be in the fall. It's a little low. And there was one fall, it was really low. So the lake was low. I had my mud boots on. Y'all just hear my door just closed. But I had my mud boots on, and I would walk in these creeks and go along the banks. And guys, I would catch fish sometimes in this shallow water, okay? I would see them chasing bait up, or if I just saw water, I'm throwing my fluke, and they would even come up from the like 2-3 foot and just come up there and just blow up on it, man. Some fun bites. So I was in the back of these creeks, wading and walking around, catching fish that was pushing bait up in the back of the creeks. Now guys, in Arkansas, because depending where you're at, everything happens different, and different times, different years, depending on the weather. But this one year, this was happening in the middle of November. Guys, I'm talking like Thanksgiving was the next week, and I'm catching these fish so shallow in the back of the creeks, okay? On a fluke, wading without a boat. Now, of course, guys, like I did after this, I had a boat, you know, I had a boat, access to a boat like a year later. I went in the back of some of these creeks with the boat and cracked them as well, okay? So without a boat, with a boat, this was a fun bite. Okay, guys, so I just want to share that with you on my straight tail lure. Don't forget about the fluke. It's one of the originals. It's one of the longest soft plastic lures out there. If you haven't had a fun experience with the fluke, give it a shot. Give the Strike King Caffeine Shad a shot. I know, like I said, I even have some other ones right here I hadn't talked about. I have a lot of flukes, okay? Love the fluke. Caught a lot of fish with it in my early years of fishing, and even to today. Appreciate you guys. Now let's go see what Kyle has to say about the straight tail lures.
If you guys enjoy the content in this video and want more personalized instruction, head to our website, fishthemoment.com. Then go to the virtual lessons page. Here you can book one-on-one virtual lessons with each member of the Fish the Moment team. In these 1-hour lessons, the Fish the Moment team member will break down your lake using Google Earth and a contour line map and answer any questions you have. Whether you're preparing for an upcoming fishing tournament or a fun weekend on the lake, make sure you sign up for one of these one-on-one virtual lessons so you're fully prepared to catch as many fish as possible on the water. Check them out at fishthemoment.com.
Hey guys, Kyle Cordiana here with Bass Fishing Declassified. Listen, today we're going to be talking about how straight-tailed baits are somewhat taking over fishing right now, and I'm going to show you these two baits. These are two of my favorite straight-tailed baits. This is a finesse tactic that we're going to talk about for me today, but there's some bigger straight-tailed baits too. The two baits I want to talk to you about today are the Yum Sonar Minnow. This is the bait that helped Jason Christie win the Bassmaster Classic, if you didn't know that. This is a fantastic bait. This is the new Great Lakes Finesse drop minnow. You've been hearing me talk about it quite a bit as I've been up north tearing them up on it on a drop shop, but there's other ways to use this in the fall, and I'm really excited to share that with you. So the difference between the two, this one's 3 1/4 inches. The Yum Sonar Minnow is 3.25 inches. The drop minnow, 2.75 inches, so it's a 1/2 inch smaller. This is a tiny little bait. This is a really tiny little bait. The other differences, we got a fork tail on this one, and we got this beady little shaky tail here. This one's smooth. This one has a very smooth finish to it. So this is just going to have a quiver to it in the water. So when you're fishing with this, literally you're just getting that quiver that you see. This bait, the drop minnow by Great Lakes, it's ribbed all the way around. So what that's going to do, it's going to create a little bit of vibration. So no vibration. They both are going to have a good wiggle to them. This is going to have a fork tail. This one will not. Plastics. This one is a super durable plastic that will not tear. It's really hard, it's really sturdy, it's not stretchy, it's a firm, hard. You can get a lot of fish on this bait. The only place it gets soft is in that tail, you can see. The other thing about this is it has a no gloss finish. There's no shine to this at all. So if you took any other plastic bait out of the package, including the Yum Sonar Minnow, it's gonna be shiny. And if you ever wanted to get that shine off, you had to put it on the deck of the boat and rub it on the carpet real hard, and that would help eliminate the shine. This one doesn't have that, so that's another difference. Also, this bait here, the F2, scent is impregnated in this Yum Sonar Minnow. So this one has scent impregnated into it. This one does not. So they're both straight tail options. This one has a neutrally buoyant plastic, so this one's gonna help you stay neutrally buoyant. This one does not. So this one you can keep swimming it more. This one's gonna be better for mopping or fishing straight up and down. It's gonna help you stay more vertical. Both straight tailed applications, both awesome bass catching baits. You might need to try them both in your situation, but these are just gonna give you a couple options. Also, I'm gonna show you all the different jig heads you can use for these. I got a few different options for you. You can get all these baits. You can get the Yum Sonar Minnow, the drop minnow, the hooks for the Great Lake drop minnow, the Yum Sonar head, everything except for the Eagle Claw stuff. You can get them at lurenet.com. Use my coupon code Cordiana15, save you 15%. So for the Yum Sonar Minnow, they have their own Sonar Minnow head. They have a Yum Sonar Minnow head. This comes in 3 different colors. I believe it's raw, pearl, and smoke. This is the raw color, so it basically just looks like a typical lead color, but it's got some sparkle to it. Just got a little bit of sparkle. I really like this on my shad colored baits. It's got a sickle style, almost like the Eagle Claw Pro V bend style hook, but this is a sickle hook. It's got a light wire hook, works really great, made just for this. So that's a jig head by Yum. Another jig head that I really like, Eagle Claw. The Eagle Claw Eagle Eye jig heads. They've got them in a bunch of different colors, chartreuse, white, pink, you name it. They've got them in a bunch of different colors. They've even got this teardrop jig that is a really cool color. Again, it's got the Pro V bend, almost a sickle style hook. I really like that style hook, and it fits really well with this 3 1/4 inch Yum Sonar Minnow. Now for the Yum Sonar Minnow, this is a tiny little bait. Again, 2.75 inches. It requires a special little hook, and they offer it. So the Great Lakes Finesse Company builds their own hooks just for it. You can see it comes with a bunch of different size options here. You've got 1/16, 1/8, quarter, 3/8, 3/32. You've got them in different colors, black, brown. This one I'm holding is brown, but it's got a really unique bait keeper on it. It's got that 3-collar bait keeper on it. A 2-collar bait keeper on it. Out of all the bait keepers I've ever used, I believe this collar system is the best. And again, you're just gonna rig that on there just like you would a crappie jig. Just nose it up on there, and it's gonna fit that. And again, this is a tiny little hook. This is a tiny little bait. Very finesse, extra light tackle, which brings me to my next topic. What tackle am I gonna use to throw both these baits? Well, it's gonna be the same setup on both of those. So this is gonna be a 7-foot medium action spinning rod. This is a Kistler Helium Series 1, 2000, 2500 series spinning reel. I like to throw it on straight fluorocarbon. If it's dead calm, you can probably throw it on braid, but I like not getting a big bow on my line, so I like to throw it on straight fluorocarbon. 6-pound line is probably going to be the best for this really small finesse system. You can go to 8. I wouldn't go heavier than that. And you're just going to make really long casts with it. This is the Sonar Minnow. This is with the Yum Sonar jig head on this particular setup. But you're just casting out there at suspended fish in the fall. You can fish docks, points, whatever, but these fish are suspended. You might just know there's bait in the area. You might actually see the fish schooling, and you're gonna make really long casts to these fish. And the whole purpose of this is to keep this above the fish. I use Lowrance Active Target a lot, so I've learned a lot about how fish react to baits. They don't really like it when you bring it beneath them. So back in the day, I used to let everything hit the bottom and work on the bottom, and sometimes that has a time and a place. But when fish get suspended, they don't like stuff coming up underneath their belly. It gives them a little bit of a spook. Sometimes they'll still eat it, but they love it when you lead them. So keep it way up in the water column, above the bait, above the fish, wherever you think that is. And if you're not getting bit, slowly work deeper. If you don't have forward-facing sonar, work deeper, because sometimes those fish are below the bait. So you need to get down to the bottom of the bait, but still be above the fish. Again, fish like to come up to eat these. When you throw it out, cast it, make the fish work for it, just slow reel it back, but keep it away from the fish. Don't force feed the fish if you have active target or forward-facing sonar. Don't put it right on their nose. lead it up there, keep it away from them, make them come get it. You got a lot better chance than them committing when they get there. You just dead reel this thing. You don't twitch it, you don't have to pop it or nothing. It's just slow, reel it back in. The exact same presentation for the drop minnow. Throw it out, reel it back in, wait for a bite. If you like crappie fishing and you cast the crappie jig, it's basically your crappie fishing. You're throwing it out, you're reeling it back. Don't have to twitch it at all. You can every now and then if you want, but that's gonna be, you're gonna feel thump, or you're gonna see the fish eat it on active target, and that's how you catch them. So I hope this helps you guys catch more fish with the new straight-tailed buzz going on, and we'll see you guys on the next one.